If you're anything like me, then you absolutely cannot wait for the new FromSoft or Souls-like game, Elden Ring. This game looks absolutely incredible and definitely looks like FromSoft have taken their craft to the next level. But maybe you can't afford Elden Ring at launch. Maybe that high next-gen price is just too much, or maybe you don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, so you can't dip your feet in the water. What other games like Elden Ring can you play right now? Well, that's where I come in. We're gonna be going over 9 alternatives to Elden Ring that you can check out right now, because maybe you can't quite afford the game yet, or maybe you've already played Elden Ring and you're looking for more games like it to go and check out. Let me know if you have any other suggestions for games in this genre and leave them in the comments down below. I should define what a Souls-like is before we continue on with this list, because I'm gonna be repeating myself a lot. The kind of games that I define as Souls-like games are more of your action-adventure mixed with an RPG, but with a learning curve of sorts. Souls-like coming from its originator, Demon Souls and Dark Souls. These games traditionally have a very, very steep difficulty curve. They feature a lot of slow and methodical gameplay, not just your standard hack and slash affair, and they generally feature sprawling environments that end with a boss battle of some sort. Kind of a loose definition. Let's get started. I would be remiss if I didn't start with Demon Souls. Obviously a PlayStation 5 game, so PS4 gamers, I'm sorry. Well, I guess technically you could play it back on the PlayStation 3 as well. Demon Souls is fantastic. It looks graphically impressive and it plays equally as impressive. The only challenge with this game is it is ultimately a remaster at the end of the day of a PlayStation 3 game, so it does have a little bit of nonsensical stuff in there. Apart from Elden Ring, if you're looking for the latest and greatest in Souls-like gameplay, then this is obviously the one to start with. Next up, I want to talk about Securo, and this is actually a little bit different to the rest of the Souls-likes because it does move quite a lot faster than what I would call a traditional Souls-like game. This game definitely combines the Souls-like genre with more of a fast-paced action game, so it is definitely a bit more accessible for gamers who may be trying to start a Souls-like for the first time, although it's probably not the one I would recommend playing first before you've played any of these games, and we'll talk about that game next. Sekiro has more of an oriental flair to it as well, being set in a completely unique environment compared to the rest of FromSoft's games, and this one is actually published by Activision as well, whereas Bandai or Sony have traditionally published their games in the past. Some of the specific features in this game are around a grappling hook, which makes traversing around the environment really different and unique. It also speeds up gameplay dramatically because of that feature. It still does tick a lot of the Souls boxes though, with really tough as nails combat, slower gameplay compared to a traditional hack and slash, and very unique boss battles. Yeah, I'm talking about the monkeys. If anyone's played this game before, you'll know what I mean. Bloodborne. This is, if not my favorite game on this entire list. Bloodborne takes everything that Dark Souls did and changes it slightly, making it, I guess, easier in a sense, but also different. Bloodborne sees you playing a hunter. For lack of a better word, I call it Castlevania cosplay, because that's basically what it is. You're not a vampire hunter per se, but you are a monster hunter, basically. Traditional Souls-like tropes, weird environments, tough as nails gameplay, and crazy boss battles. Bloodborne does speed up the gameplay a little bit from the original Dark Souls series and Demon Souls, and it adds in like a ranged weapon attack which you can use to parry enemies and stun enemies as well. It basically acts as an alternate to the classic Dark Souls trope of using a sword and a shield. This game also encourages you to dodge much more heavily rather than block, thus kind of speeding up the combat loop in it a little bit. I guess we've talked enough about Souls without mentioning Dark Souls. It's probably worth talking about at this point. This is kind of what spawned it all off, and I'm not going to suggest a particular one out of all three of these. We have Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. I would probably just advise sticking away from Dark Souls 2 if you're going to check out any of the games here and lean towards either 1 or 3. I think 1 is a perfect jumping off point because not only was it remastered recently, so it's been enhanced and improved, but it also was what started off basically this genre. Of course, not talking about Demon Souls, but really popularized the genre. Dark Souls 3, on the other hand, brings in a lot of the elements that From incorporated into Bloodborne, melding together this Dark Souls Bloodborne hybrid, and I actually think it's pretty damn good. Dark Souls 2 is kind of a bit of a misstep for the franchise. It's not a terrible game overall, but it's definitely weaker than the other two, at least in my personal opinion. Okay, we've pretty much talked about FromSoft, the guys who created this genre. What about other developers who have tackled this genre? And there are actually a lot of them. In 2020, a game called Mortal Shell released. This was an indie developed game and basically a bit of a love letter to the Souls franchise. It's convoluted and weird, it uses slow methodical gameplay, it has epic boss battles, it's basically everything Dark Souls is, but actually innovated as well. And these guys did this on a tight budget. The game has now been released on PlayStation Plus, it's had a publisher pick it up, it's had physical editions, but when it first launched, this was a relatively unheard of game and franchise. The unique thing about Mortal Shell is it gives your character a shell, which is basically a gameplay style. You pick your soul soul takes on a body in the form of a shell, which all play slightly differently. Some of them deal more damage, some of them are really fast. The cool part about it is if you take enough damage, the enemies can knock you out of your shell, leaving you completely vulnerable and weak as this basic husk of a human. It's a really, really cool gameplay loop that honestly does change the way that you play, and it makes it wholly unique. It is honestly, in my opinion, the best of the indie Dark Souls clones, and there are so many of these on the internet now. This one here I highly recommend checking out. The Sony published Neo and Neo 2, both another two fantastic takes on the Souls franchise. They sped the gameplay up, mixing it with the Ninja Gaiden franchise, creating this kind of Souls/Ninja Gaiden, and it really does work. These ones are set in Japan, and you're taking on different soldiers and Oni enemies and things like that. I would say the scope and scale of these games is just a little bit smaller than the Dark Souls franchise and the FromSoft games, with the interconnecting environments not really being there, but the cool enemies and boss fights are absolutely there, and the cool power-ups and weapons and things are absolutely there. These games play phenomenally well. They're very smooth and very, very good to play. And they're also available on the PlayStation 5 now. If you're a PS5 owner, you can play them over there for an even more enhanced experience. Moving into the AA Souls-like space, we have The Surge and The Surge 2. These games here are definitely more low budget than some of the stuff we've already mentioned because they are AA developed, but these games are wholly unique in a different way. They take the Souls gameplay and they transform it from a fantasy setting to a sci-fi setting, which I never even thought was a thing that was possible, but it absolutely is. They have you fighting robots in junkyards in this futuristic set, and it's actually super, super satisfying as well. This game also has a mechanic where you can target body parts, so you can pull off combos to basically rip enemies' arms and legs off and take them down that way as well. It also then lets you take those limbs and weapons that you rip off and create new things out of them, so it's very, very unique in that sense. This game looks completely different, but it's equally as dark and creepy as the Dark Souls franchise, despite being set in a more bright and futuristic setting. The sci-fi environment can be equally as evil as the filthy swamps in Dark Souls. Another game that I applaud for doing things very differently is Remnant from the Ashes. This is another AA published game, obviously made on a more of a shoestring budget. These guys have combined a mixture of fantasy and sci-fi, combining them all into one big mix of Souls-like games. And it really does work pretty well, honestly. It's a little bit rough around the edges, absolutely, but it mixes two different types of gameplay style in third-person shooting and in hack and slash Souls-like gameplay, and it kind of does a decent enough job at it. I really like games that mix fantasy and sci-fi. I think it's something that's not done enough, and I think it's a really, really cool melding of worlds, taking some of the best elements in storytelling and gameplay of both of these environments, and this game is one of few games that exists in any genre of game that does it very, very well. This game is a ton of fun, and it's probably overlooked by a lot of people because it's a AA game that not many people would have heard of. A little bit of a left field one is Jedi Fallen Order, and you're probably thinking, how is this a Souls-like game? It's a Star Wars game, and yes, it is a Star Wars game. At heart, it's a Star Wars adventure game, but the way it plays is absolutely like a Dark Souls game, with slow combat, dodging, blocking, and then attacking, big enemies that you have to overcome, huge sprawling environments, and kind of the weirdness of the world, which I guess kind of Star Wars fits in with. Definitely a different take on Dark Souls, and from the outset it might not look like it, but it absolutely is a Souls-like game when you break everything down to its bones. This is a great one that you should check out. It's actually available on EA Access, so it's super cheap if you need a really, really cheap and easy Dark Souls game to get you into the whole Souls genre. As you can probably tell, I really do love this style of game. It's one of my favorite types of games that exists to date. Super passionate about this, so hopefully you guys are as well. I'd love to hear which ones of these you've played in the comment section down below. Other Dark Souls style or Souls-like recommendations that you have in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Another month, which means another Patreon video for all of you beautiful people out there. Thank you so much to all my Patreons and YouTube channel members over here on the right-hand side for helping to support the channel and keep the lights on. Without Patreon members, this is what it looks like. This is how it is without the lights on. You don't want that. Don't let that happen. Thanks to all the names over here on the right-hand side for helping to support the channel. If you too want to become a Patreon or a channel member, the link's in the description down below. Channel members get a bunch of cool icons next to their name. They get special emotes to use in the chat, and they get my undying gratitude, just like each and every one of you Patreons. Thank you so much. Goodbye.